Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Queen & Company released another fun sentiment stacker set. This is their holiday sentiment stackers. So it's another set very similar to their Halloween and their fall set. It includes 6 different dies, 3 different words. So there's Merry, Jingle, and Santa. And then it also has the outline for each of the words, which is really fun. There's a small stamp set included, and these are perfect to pair up with those sentiment dies. But there's also a couple I think that work well on their own, and I love all of these tiny little snowflakes that are included. And then there's a 10 pack of foil. Go ahead and open it. Always be careful when you open these, they sort of pop out sometimes. So look at these beautiful Christmas colors, a little bit of gold, lots of greens and reds, nice variety. You have metallic and glitter. Love these so much. And when you use up all of these foils, you'll have this cute little storage container. And then the kit also includes a pack of the gloobers. So these are a 6x6 adhesive sheet. They're double-sided and it's perfect for adhering that foil. So for my cards this time, I'm using some brand new Queen & Company foundation die sketches. These were designed specifically to use with the foundation die set. So you can see some of them will use sets 3, 4, and 5. Some would just use 1. So that's what I'm going to use for my cards this time. And the 2 paper collections I'll be using are the Merry and Bright and also Happy Holidays. And these are both by Queen & Company. So I'm going to start off with card number 1. So like I said, I'm using all of the Queen & Company foundation die sketches, and I will provide a link in the description box if you want to go and check those out. I haven't printed extras, so I don't have a small one to put in the upper corner. This first card, I'm using the Merry and Bright collection. I love this collection because it has pink. And even better, it also includes teal. I love a pink and teal together. They're just so pretty. So I used one of Queen & Company's new border dies for this little scallop border, stamped my sentiment directly onto that pink paper since it's light enough, a nice tone-on-tone design. And then the striped piece is one of the foundation dies, along with these little banners. So I cut them out using some pink cardstock and then also some of Queen & Company's glitter cardstock. The teal is my favorite color with their glitter cardstock. I wanted them just slightly off from each other, so I'm just trimming the pink one a little bit shorter. And then since that glitter cardstock is a little thicker than the regular pink cardstock, I added just a small scrap of paper underneath that right side of the pink banner. That way it's nice and even on the card. And now I pulled out some of the trio trims in pink, wrapped it around the top of the card twice, and I'm just adhering it to the back of that card front with some red line tape. Put my ATG on there and then attach it to a card base. I always use white card bases. I just find it easier, and it's also a nice heavyweight paper, so I know it'll hold up to all of the layers I'm going to add to my cards. So now using some more of the foundation dies. And almost all of the products I am using in this video are made by Queen & Company. I will have a list in the description box for all of the products used and where you can purchase them. I cut out 2 different oval die cuts. One is the scalloped and then the other just the regular oval. And I used the glitter paper for that scallop. That way there's just that hint of the glitter peeking out from behind the other oval. This adds a nice touch. But go ahead and tie a bow in that upper right hand corner. Now I have most of my card assembled. I'm going to start working on one of the sentiment dies. So this is the word Merry. I have the outline die right here. Cut out a piece of white cardstock and then also a piece of the gloober, just big enough to cover this white piece of cardstock. And I'm just pulling off the backer. It's really not that hard, but sometimes I just can't get them separated. So now to remove the clear backing off of the gloober sheet, the easiest way to do that is to take a piece of Scotch tape, rub it on the top, and then just peel it right off. It's super easy. So I'm going to use some of this silver matte foil. So right now it looks fairly white just because of my overhead lights. But super easy to use. You just lay it on top, press it onto anything sticky, and then peel it off. And if there are ever any little pieces that don't get the foil attached, you can just use some of that leftover foil and press it in place just to fill in all of those little gaps. Now for the word Merry, I cut this out using some of Queen & Company's glitter foam. I have the beautiful glitter pink. Gotta add some more pink to my card. And this foam is self-adhesive, so it's super easy to use. Just remove the backing and then place it inside of that outline. So now to finish off my card, I'm just putting a thin piece of the pattern paper on the inside of the card just for some extra detail, and then adding some of the bling. I have a variety of different Queen & Company bling. I have iridescent bubbles, some petite posies, and also the iridescent goosebumps. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out. That pink and teal together is just so pretty. So now moving on to card number 2. This paper collection is the Happy Holidays. Another beautiful collection, and I love the touch of the brown and tan, especially with these snowflakes in the background. So I used the scalloped rectangle die. This is again one of the foundation dies. Layer that on some of the red tone-on-tone pattern paper, and then also just for a little extra touch, I layered it on some regular cardstock. Actually, this one has a pearlescent finish to it. And then I layered also that chevron red and this is tan or cream design. And now I'm using the foam tree. This is included in the Happy Holidays kit. So it's designed to make a shaker card, but I'm not going to make a shaker card. Instead, I'm going to use the foil. So like I said, this foil adheres to anything sticky. So this foam is double-sided sticky. You just remove one of the sides, and I pressed the green foil right onto it, and it leaves all of that beautiful foil right on top of the foam. Now for the outline of the tree, I could just use that little leftover piece of the foam sitting there on the left, but I really like the faux stitching detail from the dies. So instead, I'm going to attach the foil directly onto just this piece of cardstock that I attached some of the glue. And then I'm going to take that die and cut out the top part of the tree. That way I'll still have that nice stitched detail. So there you can see how it looks. And then attaching that frame is super easy because, like I said, this foam is double-sided. So you just peel off the backing and then it's sticky. And then I can put that frame right on top. I did need to add my little tree trunk first. So go ahead and attach it to the card, and then I'll remove that backing and then put the rest of the tree in place. Isn't that beautiful? I love all that shine. There were a couple little spots that were missed, so that's where I used the leftover piece of the foil. You just press it directly on those missed spots and it fills it all in, and you can't even tell. So now I'm going to add my sentiment. I'm just going to stamp it on some white cardstock. And my first stamping of it was a little bit crooked, so I straightened up the stamp and then re-stamped it. And I'm just going to cut a small fishtail out of the right side end. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted to layer it in some more of this red cardstock, and I felt like it stood out plenty just because there's no other white on this card. But I am going to have it go over the tree just a little bit, and that tree has a lot of thickness, so I'm using some leftover Queen & Company foam. So this was used in a previous shaker card. You always save the inside piece, and that's what I used to cut some of this dimension, just so it's all at the same level on the card. And then I just put a little bit of liquid adhesive on the part that's covering the tree. So now I'm going to add a few banners in that upper right hand corner. I cut them out just of that pearlescent red cardstock, and I'm going to pop them up using some foam dimension. Not quite as thick as the Queen & Company foam dimension, but I still felt like it needed to just be popped slightly. So I didn't push them down completely because I wanted to make sure I got them nice and straight. And then I felt like they needed just a little something extra. And with all of this brown and tan on that pattern paper, I thought some gold would look lovely. So the foil included in the kit does have this beautiful gold. So I'm going to cut out a few snowflakes. So again, just a piece of cardstock, attached the gloober sheet, pulled off the backing, and then added the foil. And then I cut out 2 small snowflakes. And these are by Fawn, not Queen & Company. And then I'll just use some liquid adhesive to adhere those in between those 3 banners. And my first attempt, I didn't have enough glue and it came right back up onto my hand. So I had to put a little more adhesive. Once this adhesive dries, it holds really well. And now for some embellishments. I have quite an assortment this time, but I felt like the tree needed a star on top. I first tried a yellow, but I felt like it was just way too bright. So I'm just using one of the white and the sparkle look to it. There's 2 different styles. One's more of a matte look and then the other's sparkle. So then I also have some iridescent bubbles, some more of the iridescent goosebumps, and then also some jelly gems. Although I ended up not using the goosebumps, I decided it just didn't look quite right for the card. So there is my finished card, and I just love all of these beautiful colors mixed together. So now moving on to card number 3. The paper collection is again from the Happy Holidays kit, using some more of this red pearlescent cardstock to layer all of the pieces. And I used 2 different rectangle dies, part of the foundation collections, to cut out both of these pieces. I'm going to go ahead and put my card front onto a card base before I add anything else to this card. Put my little pattern paper on the inside. And now I'm going to stamp a sentiment on one of these banners. And this one is "Claus is coming to town." So you may be able to figure out which of the word dies I'm going to use on this card. So there it is. This is the outline for the word Santa. For my previous 2 cards, I added the foil and then die cut out the word, but you can do it the other way around. So this time I added the gloober sheet to the cardstock, die cut out the word, removed that backing, and now I'm going to add the foil. And then just make sure to give it a really good rub, especially around the edges, so that all of that foil adheres. And the foil isn't as wide as the sentiment dies, but that's okay because you can still just use all of those little extra pieces and press it in place. And the seams really don't show very much, especially when you go ahead and add in the word. So for the Santa, I cut it out using some of the white fun foam. This is again by Queen & Company, so it's self-adhesive. I just remove the backing and then I'm just slowly laying it inside of this outline. And I did have one little part of the foil that I noticed didn't attach, so I just used some more of my scrap, pushed it in place, and now it's nice and filled. So now a few little embellishments. I cut out these stitched circles using some of the glitter foam. Once I figure out placement for those circles, I can attach them to the card, and then this sentiment strip is going to go right on top of that lower circle. So I did add some foam dimension underneath that banner and just left a gap where that little glitter circle will be. That way it's nice and even on the card. And then I decided I'm going to pop up the Santa word just using some really thin foam squares, just to give it a little extra interest on the card. I'm just going to put that right above the sentiment. And then I wanted just a few other embellishments on the card. So I'm using some of the stitched star dies. Add some foil to these. So I have my gloober sheet, attaching it onto my white cardstock. And I decided to use this matte red foil that's included in the kit. I didn't need any extra sparkle, but I still like that little bit of shine. Just go ahead and adhere the foil right onto the gloober, fill in any of those little missing pieces, and then I can cut those out. And I did cut out 3 of the stars. So I have one of the medium size and two of the smaller. I'll put one right there by the sentiment, attach it with some liquid adhesive, and then the other two are going to go around that glitter circle. So on the one star that's going on top of the glitter, I want to make sure it doesn't droop on the one side. So I am adding just a little bit of foam dimension just on those 3 star points that are hanging off of that circle. And then I'm just adding a real small piece of foam dimension to that final star. I pulled out some of the embellishments. So I have on one of the glitter globes. And I was trying to figure out where I wanted to place it because I really like the color and the look, but it just didn't seem right. It seemed, maybe it was like too big. So I ended up not using any of the glitter globes. So instead, I'm just going to stick with the red berry pearls and then some of the white petite posies. And it felt like that was enough since I already have those stars and the circles and lots of sparkle going on this card. So once I figure out all of those embellishments, there is my finished card, and that is card number 3. So now moving on to card number 4, I'm going to switch back to the Merry and Bright paper collection. Try not to focus quite as much on the pink this time, even though I love pink. I cut out that background paper using the scallop rectangle die, and then also the banner in that pink paper, and my camera seemed to stop on me for a few minutes, so I lost just a little bit of footage. So right here, I decided to try some of the red line tape instead of the Gluber to see if it still worked using the foil and then also cutting out a die, and it worked great. So this is one of Queen & Company's border dies, and I'm just going to put that small piece underneath this pink banner. And since I use a thick cardstock for adding all of this foil, it's much thicker than any of the pattern paper. I don't want that piece to be kind of lopsided on the card, so I'm just adding another piece of the white cardstock behind this pink banner so it's nice and even. So get all of that adhered onto that card front, and for this card I'm going to use the word jingle. So first I'm going to stamp the sentiment. I'm taking a chance and stamping it directly onto the card, but I figured it's a small enough sentiment it would work, and it did. So this says all the way, so it'll be jingle all the way. Thought that was fun. I'm going to use some more of this pink twine, wrap it 3 times around the card on the upper portion, adhere the ends to the back of that card using some more of the red line tape. Always make sure it's nice and straight before you adhere the twine, because this red line tape holds things in place. It doesn't move very easily. And I do add that extra strip on that top portion just to make sure that it's not going to peel up a little bit on my card base. And then I'm just going to slip that extra piece of twine underneath, and so I will be tying a bow on it later. But first I'm going to assemble the jingle word. For this card I'm using some pink cardstock for that outline of the word. And then I cut out the jingle word using some of the white glitter foam. I just thought I'd change it up a little and show that you don't always have to use that foil in the background. It works perfectly with just regular cardstock. So now that I have all of that word in place, don't forget to add the little dot for the eye, otherwise it won't be complete. And I am going to go ahead and pop this up using some more of that thin foam dimension. I really like all of the fonts used for the sentiment stacker sets. Each of the sets has a different look, because there's the Halloween and then the fall, and this is the holiday, and I love how they're all different. I went ahead and tied my bow, although I will be adjusting it later. Because then after I put that bow, I decided to add a couple little banners right in that upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to tuck them right behind where the bow is. I really don't completely plan out my cards, so I'm always adjusting little parts here and there. So go ahead and put my pattern paper strip on the inside of the card and then start adhering some of the bling. So I pulled out those glitter globes again because I really wanted to use them, and I think they worked out perfectly on this card. And then I also have some of the green candy shop bubbles. And at this point, I did notice I wanted to move that bow just over to the right a little bit. So the way I tie my bows makes it super easy because it just kind of slides along the other pieces of twine. Then I did also use some pink petite posies. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 4. So now moving on to my final card. This is card number 5. I switched back to that Happy Holidays paper collection, sticking with the very traditional red and green Christmas colors this time. So I have some tone-on-tone pattern paper for the background, and then this green and red polka dot paper for the smaller rectangle piece. I put one of the little stitched tabs on that left-hand side, just using some more of this pearlescent red cardstock. And then I have this rectangle with the rounded corners out of some tone-on-tone pattern paper in the green. And then I'm going to use the word Merry. But for this card, I'm not going to use the outline. I cut out 2 of them with that red pearlescent paper just to add a little bit of dimension, and I'm just going to adhere those together using some liquid adhesive. So I'm not going to adhere it to my card yet because I will be adding a sentiment stamp, and this one is May Your Days Be. And I debate about trying some red ink, but I thought it might not show up very well on this green paper, so I'm just going to stick with some black ink. So once I'm pretty sure that it looks like it'll be straight, I'll go ahead and stamp that sentiment. And now I can add some liquid adhesive to the back of this word die cut. And then place that right below that stamp sentiment. And I still wanted to use some of the beautiful foils on this card. So this time I'm going to use a few of the stitched circle dies, just trying to decide which size I want. Have my white cardstock, and then I'll cut out a piece of the Gluber sheet, remove that backing, and I'm going to do 2 different colors. For the larger circle, I'm going to use the green crushed diamonds. And then the smaller circle, I'm going to use some more of just the red, kind of that matte red color. So remove that backing on the Gluber sheet and then attach my foil. Fill in all of those tiny little spots that once in a while you miss. I'll do the same on the green. Remove that backing. And at first I was planning on having that larger circle in the red and then the smaller circle in the green. Of course, I'm going back and forth trying to figure out which foil I want for that second one. But then I did change my mind and decided to do the larger circle in green and the smaller in the red, even though I wasn't sure if that piece was actually going to be big enough. But it turned out it was just fine. So for that larger green circle, I'm going to have it go off of the edge just slightly. But I am going to add just a small piece of cardstock just on the right hand side of that circle, just so it's nice and even on the card, because it does go off of some of those layers just a little bit. So once I have that attached, I'll just trim off that very end so it's flush on the right hand side. Add some dimension to the back of the red circle, just in the spot where it's going to be hanging off of all of the other pieces. Again, trying to keep everything nice and even. I'll adhere my card front on a card base. And then I decided I wanted one more circle in that upper left-hand corner. So I cut it out using some more of the red foil, since I still had some left over on that one piece. Put my pattern paper on the inside of the card. Then I thought it would be fun to add a bow right above the sentiment. So this die is included in Queen & Company's Happy Holidays kit. It's 2 pieces, really easy to put together. It is very small. I find the easiest way to attach all those pieces is to use some very thin score tape. So this is 1/8 of an inch score tape. So I'll just put a little piece down, fold the side that needs to be folded, and then keep adding little pieces of score tape until I have it all adhered. I'm trying to figure out placement, and I ended up putting it in that upper left-hand corner. And then to adhere that to the card, again, I'll use some more of this really thin score tape. And just to make sure it's going to stay in place, I also added some liquid adhesive on the spots the score tape wasn't touching. And then I felt like this card needed just a little more foil. So I'm using some of Queen & Company's Gloobers. They have 3 different sizes. This is the middle size. I think it's considered the medium. Maybe it's the small. And I'm using some of the scrap of that green foil. And the Gloobers are basically like a really thin glue dot. So since it's sticky, the foil will adhere to it. So it's kind of like a nice flat embellishment, just a little something extra to add to your card. And so easy to use, other than the fact that they're really tiny. So for the first one, I added the foil first, and then I felt like that was a little harder to do. So for the second, I put the Gloober onto the card and then adhered the foil, and I found that was a little easier to manage. And then just some finishing touches, I'm using some jelly gems. I felt like it didn't need any other embellishments since I already have all of the foil and the extra die cuts. Put a couple of those jelly gems around the corners and then put 5 of them directly underneath the word Merry, trying to get them nice and straight in a row. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 5. Now here's just a quick recap of the 5 cards I made using Queen & Company's Holiday Sentiment Stacker Kit. This is such a fun kit. I love all of the foil. It's got some great sentiments. And it's so easy to combine a variety of different paper collections to make your cards. This kit is currently available. I will have a link in the description box if you are interested in purchasing it. They also have the Halloween and the Fall Sentiment Stacker set. Very fun to use, and Queen & Company sells their foil and their Gloobers individually, so you can extend the life of their kits. I will have links in the description box for all of the products used in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.